What's going on, everybody? It's IPVP My Kids IRL, and what we're about to dive into right now is part 2 of the tier list going into the purple commanders. Hope y'all enjoy. Like, comment, subscribe, it really helps us out, and I'll leave y'all to it. We're on the rank 2, correct?
Me too.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, just go ahead and start off with Frodo and Sam. Just go ahead and knock them out.
Yeah, let's just they're
Yeah.
just we need some buffs.
Effort, baby.
Medis, please. I did get them as my first purple invitation. I was hyped that I got a purple card and then I saw them. So you can imagine.
But I mean, just taking a serious look at them for a quick second, you have a purple that has Harefoots, which is the time needed to complete tips. I just don't agree with this being on any purple.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
see it if you want to complete tips on a blue character. I do see that, but when you look at all the other abilities, you see that Frodo and Sam have. You see bonus stats from equipment. You see bonus damage to orcs, which is very situational, depending upon where you are on your map. Um, then you have some avoidance, but I mean, still, here I
Ring
am in the
bearers.
fourth tree. I'm in the fourth. Yeah, I'm in the
Yeah,
fourth
ring
tree, the last
bearers is.
tree. I'm still not really seeing any solid abilities, and it's
Now, I
just
will say the last two. So, Ring of Terror, first 2 rounds against enemy target and their commander, 10% chance of going up. So, if that goes up to 70%, that'll be solid. Elven Rope against one enemy target, chance of being stunned for 3 rounds. That's
yeah.
insane. But you also have to level up Ring Bearer to level that up. And all allies, you have a chance of avoiding damage, which is good. But you also have a chance of succumbing to madness yourself. So it's just a mixed bag of everything going on with this. So what I'm hoping for is for um
They look at
Bilbo,
balance.
whenever Bilbo comes out, I'm hoping that they're going to be able to turn around the ring bearer line, and I hope Bilbo's a gold, and I hope that they set him as like a really solid madness character for the good side, because I think he has the potential. Like whenever they're hopefully comes out season 2, 3 maybe, I would really see Bilbo be like a really good ring bearer unit with the madness. I think
Hmm.
the potential's there for them. I just think that the abilities need to be reworked. Maybe Harefoots needs to be taken out completely, and just I would like to see some other like abilities put on them. But that's our reasoning beside Frodo and Sam. So we'll leave Denethor for last because I don't think any of us have tested him too much.
I got him. I can test him and I can run it through real quick. He is a solid.
I think he's really good just
He
looking at him.
Denethor.
Yeah, I actually think
Yeah.
that he's actually pretty good.
I mean, you're inducing madness though in order to get your buffs.
Yes, but he runs with that, so I think he's decent.
And if you max out Palathin's Sire, the chances of coming to madness is reduced down to 15. Um, and then Denethor's enters the state of madness, and then all allied units. So I do see your point of him being. You see, if I almost want to say that there's some equipment in the game that reduce the chance of succumbing to madness. I think that there are a handful of them. He is so situational that if you get him set up with the right equipment, he
He would
can.
be a monster.
He'd be a monster.
Putting it in though is situational.
Oh yeah.
If
Oh,
we're
I
looking
completely
at,
agree.
So
I completely
yeah,
agree.
this is,
He also has the useless Inquisitor skill, the time experience gain from and time needed. He does
yeah,
have that, which
ruling
is
steward is awful. Like
yeah.
ruling
Oh
steward
yeah.
is this. It goes back to why are purples, you know,
They
got
aren't
all
it.
these tip stuff. Like just get
Yeah.
that garbage out. Like if you've got a purple, you need more options to do either damage,
Or
CC,
tank.
utility, something. Like
Oh
you
yeah. I
you
agree.
need
Right.
to yeah.
But overall, I think he's C.
Yeah,
I
I think
think
he's
he's
C.
Yeah.
He's not quite D because, like you said, in a certain situation with certain gear, which would likely take investment to get copious amounts of,
Yeah.
you can make
But
maybe make them viable.
see, if you'd spent that same amount of effort on Darwin, Eowyn, or Faramir,
Yeah.
I
it's
know.
Oh
it's like
yeah.
I know.
why bother with him in that regard
Oh
if
yeah.
you're having to make so much to make him work.
Oh,
The only
exactly.
way you get him is if every item you get in the beginning is straight not be able to get madness, the only way you could use him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also have to compare him to Aragon because you use the
Oh,
same
exactly.
item
Yep.
to
Yep.
buff him, and I'm sorry, but Aragon's gonna get it every time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Absolutely.
might be in the D tier because of accessibility.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into the two probably most controversial ones, probably in the purple tier, which is Eamor and Thane. I'm just gonna throw them up here real quick. But Eamor, after using him, he is the most damage I've seen yet come out of a commander that has gone up against Gandalf. I personally would put him up here with Faramir. In my own personal opinion, I think he's absolutely ridiculous.
You think he's that good?
Oh
Dude,
yeah,
I agree with that. I agreed with that totally.
Seriously think that his damage is way higher than everyone else. Now, my problem with Theoden is he's like a mixed bag of everything, which can work because he is good. Don't get me wrong. So round 1, he's the only counter I've seen to him, and Darwin are the only counters I've seen to Sauron yet for the good side, which is madness without getting into the golds, for instance, or a lot of the madness effects that the evil side units have. So you've got the renowned, which is allied units in this commander get a chance of removing 1 random debuff on round 1. If this was reoccurring, this would probably push him above. He also gets Rohirrim, which is really good, as we've discussed. Mounted combat, 20% chance of dealing an additional damage, which is solid, but also the thing, Arid Leader's also given to EMR as well. So you're kind of not really comparing those two, pretty much. Horsemaster. So let's dive into what pretty much makes them different, which is Horsemaster, for instance. You get speed and gain initiative during combat. That's for Theoden only, though. Is Theoden only gets the speed. So that's kind of my problem with him specifically. Horsemaster, so that's what, 15 attack for that. And then he does get Chaotic Retreat, which is so good. Chaotic Retreat is insane. That's minus 35 defense, just all enemy units. So I just don't think he has the damage. He has a straight sustain build, which I do like, but whenever you sit there and you compare Eamor to Theoden, I just feel like Eamor outshines because of his cleave ability, his damage ability. If the debuff
for the top,
if he had more debuff reduction in there, I think that would push him up to S tier. I would leave him at A tier, honestly. I think he's really good.
Are we sure that the renewed doesn't activate every round?
So it's a round 1 ability.
Okay.
Instead of it saying all rounds.
Okay, so that is saying
round 1 you have a chance of removing a random debuff. So if it activated every round, this would be
that would be very different.
Yeah. He would be instantly moved up there to Faramir because of the amount of madness that the enemy that evil side units have is ridiculous. You see, luckily we've been facing Erebor this entire time, so they haven't been using a whole lot of madness. But you go up against Agmar and you go up against Mordor, the amount of madness they got is ridiculous.
Yep.
The amount of madness.
Poison damage, bleed damage, a lot of their characters.
Fire damage.
Yep.
So it's ridiculous.
But
no, so I agree.
I would just put them up in A tier. So in my opinion, if you get Theoden or Eamor, let's just say you're doing the 30 pull pack, I would go ahead and do all in Theoden or all in Eamor. I would do all in on one or the other. I wouldn't split. I would only use one full cav team ever because they're so expensive and they can be countered by spearmen, guards of the tower so easily. All you gotta do is throw a full army in there and you kind of like wipe the floor with them. So,
and both good side and bad side have those units where there's like anti-cavalry units, so they can be countered.
Yep. So
I'm gonna leave it at that. To factor in is that this is mounted units. I'm going to play devil's advocate for just a second because you do need to utilize certain teams with this, similar to AON. So
AON, Theoden,
just always keep that in mind.
Yep. They're absolutely. You have to only use mounted units. EMOR, you do not want to start the cavalry units if at all possible. You want to use units that you can just throw together teams and take tiles levels 1 to 30. I feel like you shouldn't be pushing for, like, I have to run full cav. I have to. Well, that's going to set you back because conscript times, apothecary, all those things
resources,
are going to set you back.
I mean, it's
everything.
just all taking into
So,
account.
Your food resources just wrecked when you're using full cow.
Yeah, your food is just gone. But all right, though, let's go into Balin. I gotta say, I love this guy. Just from looking at him, I want him so bad.
He's super strong. I mean, I would put him A or S. I mean, with elves and dwarves, he kind of wipes the floor because of his protection and well, y'all aren't going to like it, but it is leader, so he gains a little bit more troops. But
see, they have their uses though, and especially when it comes to units like Oathbreakers, when you can pack more into an army, and because those units kill themselves, but it also might. We haven't done a whole lot of testing with big units like Ents or trolls or war chariots, so we don't know how that has how much of an impact that would have when you're trying to put big units into armies like that. But it certainly does help.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I haven't play tested him yet, so it's so hard for me to say. I really like him. Whenever you say I like something on paper, he's one of those guys where I really like him on paper. He's like a paladin. He heals. He does. And the thing that I really like is if you stack him with dwarves, guardians. If you have iron warriors, this guy's insane. So he also has open wound, which makes him so good against Gandalf, Arwen, anyone who has a healing ability he's good against. So I don't know. I would put him up here at minimum A tier without even play testing.
I feel like A is good right now, yeah. And I just don't have a whole lot of experience with him, but like you said, when you look at him on paper, he's solid. He's really good.
So he falls into the same cat. Let's just go and throw Gimli up here. I'm just gonna put him in A for right now. So you have to compare them one or the other because a lot of players are only gonna have the opportunity to get one or the other. They're gonna get one and they're gonna invest in. He is the same way with Theoden and Eamor. They're both really good. Invest in the one that you get the invitation letter for if you get it, in my fair opinion. If you get Balin, run him. If you get Gimli invitation letter, run him. I think everyone would agree just putting up here in either S or even Faramir tier. He does the most damage I've seen in the game yet. The only one who would come close is Dane Ironfoot in terms of damage done.
So, but when you look at Gimli's kit, I mean, again, the only thing he really doesn't have is healing.
Yeah.
His Lockbearer, his Lockbearer, it has a little bit of healing, but that's not going to be enough to really substitute any solid healing. Well, it is, but when you look at his other abilities and how well they go together, Experienced Warrior, Durin's Blood, and then you have Lord of the Glittering Caves. And then when you look at Open Wound and Break Defenses for the abilities in the last tier,
he's lowering defense.
You want to max everything on him. He's one of those that you want to max. And now the reason why I would invest in Lockbearer early would be to get the Protect Elves. So next season we plan on going Linden. And Linden has the Ball-in tier 4 unit that's range, does a lot of damage, and so the idea would be to protect those units. And what you want to do is, because you have Protect Elves, which is the dwarf unit with the highest defense, protects all elven units and increases that unit's defense. And so you want to have Guardians in the front taking the damage through Protect Elves so that your tier 4 units in the back can keep pumping the damage out.
Yeah, same way would apply with Erebor too. If you're using Iron Warriors, you'd want to have the Elven units.
Yeah, really solid build.
Yep, either one is really good. Now, keep in mind too, this accounts to Bow Knights as well, which is really stupid because you can have your tank Bow Knights in the back They're getting reduced damage. They're getting protected. And then if your front line dies, well, you have tank bone knights in the back to keep doing damage. So I really like the possible elven archer setup with Gimli, and let's just go ahead and throw Legolas up here because he is set up the same way. Now, the thing you got to keep in mind is also accessibility. You have to also go to the inn tree as well for Dwarf Friend. So, while
I think Legolas puts a lot more damage out in the beginning, though. Even if you don't have all the way to the last tree for Legolas, you're still doing massive loads of damage.
Elven Prince and Dual Blades combo is nuts for consistent damage rounds 1 through 10. Gray Elf is what I've seen a lot of people running him. I will say I mostly wax the floor with them. The only time that they ever got around is I just don't think he's built for damage reduction. I think he's built in as essentially like a upgraded Faramir is the way that I view him. He's all in damage. So, or I should say he's just really all in damage. And there's a lot of characters on the good side that are all in damage, to be honest. That's like a lot of the good side units. So Greenleaf, Elven Prince, you can pretty much just run these two. I would definitely get Dual Blows, Elven Prince, Greenleaf too. What I really like to see is whenever you go to the max level effect, and it's got a solid, or it's got like a special effect added on to the ability as well. And Greenleaf has minus 50% for the next damage dealt whenever he hits the target. So that's a really nice damage debuff. Where do y'all want to put Gimli? I haven't used him, so I really can't say much on him.
I think he's an easy S tier.
I think so as well.
I wouldn't put him in God tier, but I would put him in the S tier. He's certainly better than Darwin, Boromir, and the reason why I say he's better than Balin is I'm going to invest those points into Gimli just because he's got a little bit more versatility and he can do what Balin does, and then some more.
Well, Balin has so much healing, though, as well. So Balin has so much sustain that I really like about him is that he's like an all-around... Like, if you look at his main ability, Revitalist and Lord of Moria, Lord of Moria, the reason why it's so good is that that is a title that is reoccurring. So it's rounds 1 through 10. So that means rounds 1 through 10 he has, and at max, 35% chance of recovering HP as well. So that's part of the reason why I like him is that he's all through it. So, but all right, though, let's move on to Aragon. So honestly, he's really good. I really enjoy this guy. I wasn't expecting to because I didn't like Strider all too much, but I honestly found to really like Strider a little bit more than I thought I would, because whenever I started to break down how much might that was, I mean, like, for instance, the way I've got mine set up with might, and I do apologize for this video being so long, but 21 might, for instance, 20 might, 19 might, and then 4 might across the board. So that's what, 60 might, and then 20% of that. So, I mean, this guy is able to put out so many... he's like a stat stick almost. So, also he can use the Elvish equipment whenever he's maxed. But I really like weapon expertise, 50% chance of doing 50% damage. So, if this procs on whenever Andril hits and whenever Precise Blow, Raid, he does a lot of damage. And then you also have Hidden Air. So, he pretty much has Durin's Blood, essentially. So, overall, though, even if you just put 1 point into Hidden Air, he gets gain initiative during combat. So, no matter what, getting 1 point in Hidden Air is always worth it.
Yeah,
I'd put him in A.
Aragon,
I think he's solid here.
I was going to say put him in May too. To be honest, in my opinion, I would use Darwin over Aragon. I think Darwin has a little bit more late game just because of having some things like the bonus to big units, and because of Durin's Blood. Because it's situational, but you're able to just make those adjustments in the end. Versus, I just don't like how some of these somehow his abilities are in like the last tier.
Oh, you talking
With
about
the
hidden air? Yeah.
hidden air, I'm not a huge fan of that just because the skill damage is a little bit lower than what Durin's blood is, and also Sun and Moon's Splendor, which is gain stun immunity against enemy orcs and urukai.
Yeah.
I don't like these.
Situational.
That's even more situational than the giant units,
Yep.
right? Because you can be
So
playing
do you
evil
see the
and
way
not
that
even
Sun and
use
Moon
those
is
units.
set up though? So it just says men gain stun immunity. And then it says against enemy orcs and urukai. So does that mean does that mean they have overall stun immunity, or does that mean they have only stun immunity against?
I think it's only against orcs and urukai.
Yeah,
Because
that's how
if
I
you
read
also
it too.
see, it says normal attack damage minus 3%. There's not a period in there, so it's confusing. Now, I will say that if men get stun immunity forever, that's worth putting a point in just to get it. A lot like Hidden Air, where you gain initiative during combat.
So okay, if it's not stun immunity against those, then what's next is it's normal attack damage against enemy orcs and urukai,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
which again is again
Very
very
situational.
situational.
Well, you just put 1 point into it, right? Just to get the men gain stun immunity. Which, if you're running, this applies to Rohan and which is all I use actually. Now that I think about it, is elves and men. But I can run a full setup of only men and do really well. But either way, though, solid commander, and you only get them for $1. So hashtag
Word.
Archon. Arwen.
Yeah.
Arwen.
Let's talk about Arwen, because Arwen's been one of those that we've gone back and forth on. I think.
So I'm
in
gonna
our group.
just throw her in B.
B.
I
Wait, what?
just had so much. I
Her
just had so
battle-
much hope for her. She just, for some reason, I just can't get around to. I feel like with Queen, half Elven is not useful on her. So, and the reason why I would like to say is Coalition. You see, if this was all good side units and dwarves were counted in there, Master Throwers would be extremely meta. So, I do like Boone. I think that's solid. She's pretty random though. With half Elven, Boone, Coalition, Queen of the United Kingdoms might turn her around and make her A tier. But like we're talking about though, it's we're talking about accessibility. So you're also throwing her up against Legolas. So because of the way that you want to distribute points, and
Your ball points down. She's just slowly dropping A to B.
Yeah,
I mean,
did have her in A. I was really
damage
hopeful. She takes so long to get set up. She does get, I think, support. So she gains 5 extra skill points, which is really good. Lady of Rivendell is really good. And then you max out River's Wrath. You gain Surge. You only have 2 damage abilities, though. So Lady of Rivendell is really good, but you only have 2 abilities, though. And Surge...
It's just the Elven version of Balin, pretty much.
Yeah, and then you have a bunch of sustain. You have a ton of sustain. Because Undamol accounts for just 2 allied units. The way I've been running her is I run her with, I think Cataphracts in the front and Bonites in the back. Extremely high HP units. And I try and keep them as live as possible. And the way that I've been playtesting them is, so I've been doing, I've been taking continuous, whatchamacallits, Fellbeast spawns. Legolas one-shots the camp. Same level. Arwen struggles just to make it by 1. So I've been comparing them a little bit on that aspect. So that's the reason why I'm going to put her in the B tier. I just think that she takes a lot to get running. I think that if you have a bunch of skill points to invest, if you get a ranked 25 Arwen, she might be the best in the game at that point, because every ability is really good. But I'm going to stick her in B. I think she's solid, but I think that you're also compared against Legolas as well. Gandalf is... So I actually swapped these 2 originally whenever me and Sir Chubbs were going through this. I'm going to put him in A. I don't think he's S tier, but I do think he's a solid A tank. I think he's the best tank guy that we have at the moment. just running through just really quickly. The Gray,
Nathaniel,
really good.
Great ability.
Yeah, he has White Council, garbage. Or not necessarily garbage, just extremely situational. Extremely situational because of Champion of Light and High Alert. His first 3, though, Wizard, the Gray, Mithrandriel, those are really good. They're really good for tank. So he has a solid tank. All right, though. So y'all know I had to do you dirty like that and cut you off before part 3. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see y'all in the next one for part 3. Hype!